Welcome to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I'm Kay Donaldson, the director of the Alabama Bass Trail and the host for this week's podcast. And this is the podcast for the week of March the 17th, 2025. It is the post Hunker Down Alabama week. It is the post Lake Guntersville week. And oh my God. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. And we are in the week of the Bassmaster Classic. So a lot to talk about. And honestly, if I did not have notes, I would not know where to start. It's been an incredible week. It's been a long week, a lot of decisions, a lot of things we had to do, but what a week. As most of you know, we had tremendous storms roll through the entire South on Saturday, Friday and Saturday, and some intense storms rolled through the state of Alabama on Saturday, which pushed us to move our tournament to Sunday. And we made that decision quite a bit earlier than we normally would. We actually made that post probably around noon on Tuesday of the week. But when you consider the fact we have anglers flying in from California and we have them driving from Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, North Carolina, South Carolina, the panhandle of Florida, we needed to make a decision in a timely manner. Airbnbs have certain rules that they go by, as well as hotels and all of that about changing reservations. So we tried to take all of that into consideration. And so we made our decision on Tuesday to move the tournament to Sunday. Everything stayed the same, flight numbers, everything stayed the same. But it was some pretty impactful storms. Actually, we got to the state park on Saturday night. Some of our team did. Some elected to stay home and travel up the day of. Daniel, myself, John, and a couple others, Noah, Jared, a couple others were in town. And we kind of rode the storm out there at the lodge, watching, trying to watch SEC basketball and just basketball in general to keep our mind off of what was going on. My home, luckily, and I don't think any of our team's homes sustained any type of damage. It was very close to our home. It was about 3 miles away, and trying to stay on the phone with your family and all that, making sure that they're okay, and family spread out all over the state of Alabama. So it was an incredible day for storms in the state of Alabama. It wasn't as tragic as they initially thought it was going to be. The breakout was not nearly as bad as they thought it was going to be. However, we had several homes, several businesses, and the loss of 2 lives that we know thus far. So our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to those who were affected by these storms. It is the springtime in Alabama and in the South. It's kind of what we deal with. We're on the coast, they deal with hurricanes, and out west they deal with fires, and tornadoes are what we deal with. So push the tournament to Sunday, and Katie Norton and everyone at Marshall County Tourism and Sports was fantastic to work with. Heath Puckett at Lake Guntersville State Park and all the staff there were incredible to work with. So easy to move this event. So just very, very thankful for people like that in the lives of the Alabama Bass Trail that work with us so closely. But holy smokes. If you did not tune in and watch Alabama Bass Trail Live on Lake Guntersville, I don't know what you were doing. I mean, it was absolutely insane. I think Luke Duncan may have gotten tired of just saying another 20-pound bag, another 20-pound bag. Incredible. 218 teams took to the water on Sunday morning. 206 teams weighed in. 151 limits were weighed in. 901 bass were caught. 895 of those were released back into Lake Guntersville alive. 883 largemouth, 16 spotted bass, and 2 smallmouth. And of course, Nathan Brewer is going to find smallmouth. He just is. He just is. This was the number that shocked me. I don't know that it shocked me, but it was very impressive. 246 bass over 5 pounds. 3 bass over 8 pounds. 838 was your big fish, and that went to Cole and Donnie Wade. And 2918 was your winning weight. Total bass weighed in, Alabama bass trail record, 3,310.95 pounds. It's insane. 58 bags. 58 bags over 20 pounds. It took 21.19 to get the 40th place check. Just an all around phenomenal day. We got to see Lucas Smith and Dalton Mize catch back to back, 5 pounders. We got to see Fisher and I, Ryan and I, catch back to back 6 pounders within 10 minutes of each other. And Jason stood there and watched Lucas Smith and Dalton Mize catch over 20. Just it was insane. It was absolutely insane. Incredible day, post front conditions, wind blowing, it never stopped. I mean, we had a light breeze in the morning. It got up about 10 to 15 miles an hour throughout the day, and it was brutal. I'm not gonna lie, like it was brutal conditions. We could stand at the way inside and watch a whitecap across the lake. It was tough. I mean, the conditions were tough, but guys, I just don't even know. Like 29.18 and a 781, 781 big fish in their bag, 58 bags over 20 pounds, took 21.16 to get 40th place check. Absolutely insane. Um, I still can't get over it. I know Mark at our bump sink and Daniel on stage lifting all those bags. They were talking about how they felt like they had been in the gym, like pumping iron or whatever. So, um, incredible day, incredible day. With that win, that puts Hunter Davidson and Bryant Fikes in the lead in the Angler of the Year. Um, they had a 12th place finish at Smith, come in with a win here. That puts them just ahead of Ryan and Fisher and Naya, I think by 3 points. Mark McKeag, Tim Hurst are in third, 7 points back. Cole and Donnie Wade in fourth. Jamie Smith and Michael Raines are tied for fifth with Damian Willis and Tyler Kiker. So that rounds out your top five in the points race. It's a little early for that, but this is Hunter and Bryant's first year to fish the Alabama Bass Trail North, and they got a 12th place and a win. And they talked about the win being on Lake Guntersville and how special that is. And so we're going to talk to them a little bit more in the next segment about that. We're going to get into how their day broke down, their choice to come in 30 minutes early because of the conditions. We're going to get into all that in just a minute. But what a cool thing. When I look through the results at Lake Guntersville, top three teams, never had a top three in the Alabama Bass Trail before. Um, Jonathan Weathers and Tim Partridge, I think they said this was their first time to get a check in the Alabama Bass Trail. Um, I mean, looking through this top 40, there's a lot of names on there, very familiar names. Delano Green Jr., we know those people. Fisher and I, Ryan and I, Damian and Tyler, Mark McKeag, Tim Hurst, Jamie Smith, Michael Raines. Good to see Jake Bice and Briar Chambers on there as well. Got to see John Welburn come back. He fished with Delton Gregory. They finished eighth. Barry Vest, Dustin McDaniel, they do very good at Guntersville. They always have. Led the tournament a couple years ago for a long, long time. Zeke Gossett, Ethan King, another team that we said to look out for, they finished in 27th place. They only had 22.56, so just 22.56. Jed Lamb and Jeremy Lamb could not get the live scoping thing to work, so they had to go out and throw a chatterbait and a rattle trap, and they scrounged up 22.14 for a 33rd place finish. Brent Crow, Jimmy Mason, 22.03 and 35th place. They took home the Garmin $1,000 for running exclusively Garmin products. Nolan Spencer and Jonathan Reese, another team that we pointed out, they had 21.30. They were in 39th place. So a lot of good teams outside that top 40 and still had very respectable bags. Very respectable bags. Anywhere else would have got you the win. Just wasn't doing it on Lake Guntersville on Sunday, March the 16th. So we're going to get Hunter Davidson and Bryant Fikes in the next segment. We're going to talk about their day. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about, I wonder if they got any text messages. after that win. I have a feeling they did, but we're going to be right back here on the Alabama Bass Trail, presented by Phoenix Boats. Y'all stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this interview.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
Welcome back to the second segment, and the segment you've all been waiting to hear about is our champions from Lake Guntersville for 2025, Hunter Davidson and Bryant Fikes. Welcome to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I've told people over and over and over, they're like, oh, how do you get on that podcast? How do you get on that podcast? You win and you get to be on the podcast. So do really well. You guys, I've talked to you a little bit off air. You said this is the first year y'all fished together in a big trail. You fished some nighttime stuff together, but first time fishing in a big trail.
Yes, ma'am. It's hunters fish a lot around the house. I used to fish a lot growing up. I went to pharmacy school, and that just kind of put a stall on that, and then I just got back into it. And I really don't know how me and Hunter kind of got back together, but we just fished some local areas here, and for spotted bass, we got giant spotted bass here, so we actually caught some pretty good bags, and we're like, we all try to get in the ABT together, and that's literally just how it happened. So
Hunter,
glad we did now.
Is this your second year fishing with your dad in the South?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Last year was the first year.
Okay, good deal, good deal. I want to point that out. He jumped in kind of with both feet this year, North and South. I wanted to ask, first of all, what your expectations were. First year fishing together and going to the North. Did either of you have a lot of experience on these lakes up in North Alabama?
no, like Smith Lake and Guntersville last year was my first time I've ever stepped foot in there. Like I've probably been to Guntersville a total of 9 times now in my life, maybe 8. And Smith was kind of about the same. It's a little bit closer to my house, so maybe did like 10 or 12 times there. And then Neely and the other 2, I've never been. Never been.
What about you, Hunter?
Yeah, I fished Guntersville a few times, probably about 9 times, same as Bryant. And I've fished Smith a few times, but not near as many as like all these others north guys. You know, I fished mostly the South Lakes and the lower Coosa and stuff like that. So
Okay. All right. Talk to me. Let's talk Smith first, and then we'll get into Guntersville. So Smith Lake, I know y'all have heard about the Alabama Bass Trail North. You've heard about the Wiggins and the Sams and the Anayas. I know those names have come up. What was your approach to Smith?
Yeah, I mean, I went up there like a month before, and it was actually a really fun like scoping bite. And Hunter's the same. We both jumped in with scoping like probably a year and a half ago, like all in, love it. I know it gets a lot of hate, but we've just really like spent a lot of hours doing that. So Smith was just kind of like what we've heard about, and we caught them really, or I did like a month before. I was like, this is gonna be fun, and that was kind of the idea going into it. And I think Hunter showed up 2 days before practice. I was like 2, maybe 3, and we found it was a scope and bite deal, and but it was weird that Saturday. It kind of flipped on us. Like I think a lot of people said that like we started off with a 3-pounder on like the first dot that showed up on live scope, caught him on a jerk bait, and we thought it was about to go down on the stretch, and it just did not. We caught our 5th fish at 11:30 and had like 10 pounds or something, and we just had to have we had to stop in the middle of Ryan Creek and had to have a little meeting and say, where have you caught a 3-pounder at in practice? Because we got to get out of here and go do something else. And we ended up going up in Rock. He had caught a 3-pounder, just one. I think Hunter won it, like just one.
yeah, just one in there.
Yeah, and we went in there, and there was a lot of wind coming in on a couple of these points, and we didn't really know it at the time. We just kind of got pushed up into it, and each point was just stacked with spots on it, and that's how we called 3 times instantly and immediately came right back to weigh in.
Yeah, it's probably the last 2 hours we called like 3 times just back to back.
Yep.
Well, how do you go into that mentally, knowing that I don't even know how many tournaments Jordan Wiggins has won on Smith Lake or Wesley Sams or Craig Daniels? I have no idea how many tournaments they've won. I probably can't count that high. How do you mentally prepare for that, Hunter?
Oh, I mean, I mean, you always hear about it, them in the Toyota series. They've won so many big tournaments. I mean, it's ridiculous how good they are. So, I mean, we were just trying to show up and do pretty good. I mean, cut a check and kind of compete with them, you know. We wasn't
Hmm.
expecting to do that good, really, but luckily we did.
Good, good. First introduction to Alabama Bass Trail, Bryant, your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, I love it. It's a well organized organization. It was well, me and Hunter talked about it. Like I said, it's kind of like your first one. Y'all go get your feet wet, stuff like that. See how these big tournaments are, and it's just like Smith really did kind of surprise us when we got to 14. It's like, all right, that ain't too bad. And Guntersville just, I don't, I don't even know. I still don't have the words honestly how this happened. But it's just been great though. It's just been fun, like being in this big a field. You always hear about it. Like Hunter, he knows all these names like the back of his hand. Like we see somebody in line say, "Hey, that's so and so. He came in second last year. That one over there won two of them." I'm like, "Hey, go!" Like it just seems like the ABT has a little bit bigger of a brand, I guess. You know, like if you win it, it's kind of like, "Hey, you're the guy." When you see them in line.
We
Most
have
people's
sent,
fishing heroes are kind of like Kevin Van Dam or Jacob Wheeler and stuff, but my heroes are like Mark McKeag, Tim Hurst, Chris Rutland, Kobe Carden.
those are some pretty good ones, but I may bleep that out about Mark and Tim. I can't let their heads get any bigger. I can't let their
Yeah.
heads get any bigger. But you know, when you look at, well, I don't care if it's BFL, I don't care if it's the old American Bass Anglers, whatever. You see those names up at the top. You know, that's they are the older Fisher and I's now that we're starting to see. So they are good. And I was told when I first started the Alabama Bass Trail that I was going to write a lot of checks to Mark McKeag. And Mark and I didn't start off on the best of foot. You know, we kind of had some little talking loudly sessions, I like to call them. But I do respect what he does on the water and all of that. But yeah, I was told I was going to write a lot of checks to him, and whoever told me that was right. So that has happened. Let's when we postponed Guntersville on Tuesday, when you got the word it was going to be postponed, any thoughts on that?
Uh, our practice was kind of probably around 20 or 22 pounds. Honestly, we kind of liked it because we just thought, oh, we're gonna get killed by the scopers, and like maybe if we get some high wind and a little bit different kind of water set up, we might have a little chance. Because Hunter caught a 6 pounder live scoping. I caught some small ones, but I mainly could only find drum on any of the bait balls I actually found, or just looking at some stumps or whatever. So yeah, we actually were kind of excited about it, I guess. But also, I was telling him we started laughing in the boat when we caught a 6 pounder to get to like 27. But I was like, we were eating a bowl of spaghetti last night, thinking I just hope we catch 20, and it was just crazy worked out.
That's how things like that happen. Talk. How many days did you practice, Hunter?
I only practiced 2 days, Thursday and Friday, and we kind of sat it out on Saturday since the
Yeah.
weather was pretty rough.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I wasn't looking forward to going over there when the weather broke here at about 9. I think I left and went over just to check and make sure all of our equipment was still there and everything, and I get to the state park and the power's out. I was like, it was out everywhere, the campground, the lodge, everything, which meant our power was out down at our trailer. So yeah, I was not really excited about that. Boat number 68. That didn't really matter though, because y'all came in 30 minutes early, right, Bryant?
Yeah, we were. Well, like everybody when they came out, everybody was going rights, and we were going right too. So I didn't really know what to expect, but nobody was on the little stretch that we wanted to start on. Yeah, and anyways, I guess we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, we pretty much around we said 250 was gonna be our kind of number because we were around 27, probably a little over 27, and 250 was gonna be the time. That gave us, it was only about a 10 to 15 minute run, and we didn't really know like with the waves or how bad it was because the wind kind of shifted a little bit. And it was kind of felt different where we were at. So I was like, well, maybe it's not too bad, but it was. And so yeah, I mean, the prop gets in your mind, like something happening. It's like, let's just go ahead and go. But anyways, we ended up catching a 5.5 at like 245 or something to get us over 29. And then I was like, all right, let's for sure go now. Yeah,
Yeah.
to be safe, because we were kind of getting in the land of like, oh shoot, we got to weigh these in for sure. Yep.
Hunter, let's talk about your day. What first 10 casts, did you have a bite?
Oh, yeah, probably our first 10 casts, Brian caught like a 4.5, and then probably 5 casts later, maybe I caught a 781, that the biggest fish we
The big one?
had. Yeah, and earlier, like my first cast, I broke off my rattle trap. I was throwing a rattle trap, And I just picked up my chatterbait and started throwing it. And I don't think I would have caught that fish if I would have still been throwing a rattle trap. So, I mean, I guess it was just meant to be, you know.
Yeah.
You, people who win Alabama Bass Trail tournaments say everything has to go right. Everything has to go your way. A lot of times, boat number is very dependent on that. If it's a shad spawn deal, if it's whatever, you have to have everything go right. And you saying that just kind of makes me think that that is exactly what a Mark McKeag would say. If you're going to win an Alabama Bass Trail tournament, everything has to go your way. It all
That's
has to
right.
work out. So, what
Yeah.
time did you have your first limit?
Well, so going back to that, like we caught the two fish quick. Like we're over here done broke 10 pounds and like, with two fish, and it seemed like 15 minutes. We were just, I still couldn't get over the 783. Like we were fired up, and then it got crazy tough on us, honestly. Like, we thought we were about to just straight smash them, and our fish kept getting smaller. Like the next one was like a 3 and then like a 2. And then like, I mean, I don't even know if it was a keeper, and we'd been there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we just made a run, and just pulled up into the next little cove where I had a bite and ended up catching like 2 over 3. So that was probably around, I don't know, 8:30 probably. We had 5 for, I don't know, Hunter, what would you say, 18? Probably somewhere in there.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
probably about what time it was.
And you made your last call at 2:45.
It had to be between 2:30 and 2:45. I got a picture on my phone because I took a picture of him smiling because that was our call. Yeah, it was somewhere around there. Yep.
What
And
was
like
that call? Was it a 2 pound call?
yeah, it was a 5.5, and I think it was I don't remember, it was like a
Like
3
a 3 pounder or something. Yeah, 3.5 or something like that.
or 3.5. But again, every fish had a story. Like where I caught that fish, we've been power pole down for 2.5 hours, 100 yards from there because we ain't got a bite in the section. I ended up catching the 5.5 in, and it was one of those deals. The wind was blowing so bad. It's like, well, let's just pole up and just let the wind push us, and let's just kind of soak our chatterbait down this stretch just one last time. And 5.5 hits it. Like it just was just meant to be. We could have very easily not poled up and done that. Just every fish has a little story that counted. Kind of crazy.
That is, and it's just so reminiscent of what I hear when I talk to guys that win them. Especially, this is a historic win.
Yeah.
The most 20-pound bags we've ever had was 38, and that was in 2018. 58 20-pound bags. It took 21.16 to get paid in 40th place.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I don't. Yeah, I told Hunter, if me and him didn't fish this tournament, we only fished practice. We're like, how are these guys doing it? Because I'm not lying. It was. I don't know if these guys were just steadily catching 4-pounders or if they just somehow got to 20 after several hours. But it wasn't just like it was just they were just jumping in the boat with us. I promise you. But we also didn't really go for a lot of bites. It was just we were in kind of the bigger fish area, we thought, and just kind of intercepted them coming through or staging whatever they were doing. Like we caught 2 in the absolute mud in a foot of water. I mean, I don't know if many people were doing that, but yeah, we just hunkered down, honestly, trying to get a bigger bite.
We had people say that they caught some in 6 inches of water, so it may be that time that they are trying to go to the bank, but sure seemed cold to me Saturday for that. I know the water temperature was in that, 60, 62 kind of, it was that wind.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to, did that stop y'all from making runs at all, places you wanted to go, or how many spots did you hit?
Really just 2 key areas, but one of them was in South Saudi. And when we got there, we said, we better do the best we can here.
Milk that.
Yeah, it was, yeah. But no, it was really just South Saudi area and a little bit down south from there is where we were at. But yeah, that wind definitely. And again, hindsight 2020, because of our practice, we only had like 2 or 3 areas we had a big bite. So if we had a bunch of areas we had a big bite, we might have been ripping and running more. But because of that, I mean, we straight up poled down, like going for just a very few bites, but they were just the right ones. You know what I mean? I don't know how many, a lot of people I know, if they're not getting bit and you got a little mud on the water, it's like, man, you go start ripping and running and kind of getting a frantic, but we just were all in. We were just all in on it. So it just worked out. That's all I can say.
I read a little bit of the story, Hunter. It says y'all were kind of used to fishing dirty, muddy water from where you're from.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
What
we grew up
lakes
on
do you
Tom
normally
Bigby River.
fish?
It's on Tom Bigby River. It's called like Aliceville Lake or Columbus Pool. The next Bassmaster Open is actually on Columbus Pool on the Tom Bigby River. So it just stays real muddy and high all year pretty much. I mean, it's always just dirty, shallow water fishing. So that's kind of what we're good at, besides the
Okay.
scope deal.
Okay. Did y'all have a problem with your scope? I know we pulled up on the Lamb brothers and they were spun out and they said that. They're like, we're spun out, like our scope's not working. It was all
Yeah. I,
hazy, or I guess whatever they said. It looked like there was either a bloom, algae bloom, or pollen or something that had it
it was
messed up.
something. I messed with my transducer about 4 or 5 times thinking it was it, restart and everything. I'm like, what is going on? Because I just went the week before, like on a local place, and it was fine. I didn't know that until, like, I honestly thought it was something with my live scoop, but then after hearing everybody, I'm like, dang, it was something on the water. It had to have been.
Yeah.
So that was another issue. Like, I couldn't see floaters that were 10 feet under the surface because I couldn't see my bait. I had no idea what was going on. It was really weird. That was another thing. It was just tough on that.
Fisher and Ryan said the same thing. The Lamb brothers said the same thing. Almost everybody we talked to that was trying to scope was having issues with it. Talk a little bit about, you've talked about a chatterbait, you've talked about a jackhammer. Talk about colors or anything, setup, line size. What were y'all doing?
Yeah, I feel
Depth.
like it's a bigger story that I don't know, like how many tournaments now are won without live scope. I feel like we like, I don't know, we kind of like went against the grain on that. I thought that was pretty cool to do that. Like, we did not use live scope one time, but yeah, we mainly the jackhammer, just to be honest, gave us the bigger bites. Rattle trap. I say that I had a 6 in practice on rattle trap, but it just seemed like the chatterbait was more consistent. We just went anywhere from a green pumpkin. The shad deal was a little bit. I was okay color. I don't know. It's like the green pumpkin, or like a red or something like that. Just, I don't know if it was a crawfish or a brim. Just got a bigger bite, so we just stuck that in our pretty much. That's the only thing I threw all day. I was just all in 17-pound line. I think I was using. So just make sure you're in the grass. Just steadily. Don't get too fast with it. Every kind of cast, you're just like in the back of your mind, make sure it's, you feel kind of what you're doing, like, because as soon as you pop it through the grass, it just goes limp. Um, Big gonna hit it.
Were you fishing milfoil or were you fishing eelgrass? Were you fishing?
Yeah, it was just like, so basically. Well, it was kind of like we're basically set our boat up on the edge of a ditch, and it was so weird. Like, Hunter caught a 783 in the ditch, but I'd catch some on the bank. So we just set it to where, like, the ditch, I guess that's when we use live scope in a sense, to where the ditch was like 30 feet away. But yeah, I mean, I guess it was hydrilla, huh? I
Yeah, I
never
think
really.
it's
Hydrilla?
hydrilla mixed
That's
with
what
a
I
little
was gonna
bit of
say.
eelgrass. We had some
Yeah,
eelgrass around too, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much what it is. One of us would be thrown in the ditch the whole time, slow rolling it. He'd be on the bank or something. We'd swap up. Like, that was basically what we were doing.
Hunter, you same setup? You have 17-pound test line?
Yeah, I was using the same thing. I caught most of mine on a green pumpkin. I caught one on a fire crawl, I think, right at the end of the day after it kind of got muddy a little bit.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this because Hunter, you're gonna have to make a decision if you make the championship with your dad, and you're automatically in the championship now because you won an event. So, yeah, how's
Oh,
that gonna work?
I think me and Brian's gonna fish it. Dad, he just enjoys fishing with me. He don't really care too much about it. He just likes fishing with me and going sometimes. So me and Brian will probably fish it together.
Okay.
that's good to hear.
I love there's so many father sons that we see come through the Alabama Bass Trail, and the dad always says the same thing. I get to fish with my son. That is the payment that I need. That is the reward that I need, is that I get to play, I
Yeah.
get to fish with my son. Angler of the year, you're up by 3 points over a guy you know pretty good, Bryant, Fisher and I and Ryan. Um, what
Yeah,
what do you do now? Do you fish conservative because you're already in the championship, or now is it just no holds barred? You just swing for the fence.
I mean, we just swinging for the fence at this point. I mean, that's how we were gonna be the whole time. I mean, because Guntersville, that was the same deal. It's like we gotta have 30, and it was just like the 2 or 3 pounders. I didn't even mark the spot really. But I don't know. I've never been to Neely. I think Hunter's been a couple of times. But you always kind of hear of a swim jig, maybe a bedfish deal. I don't know if a buzz bait or something. And that's what we love to do. So we're all in, honestly. If we have to do a scope, we might can do a little bit of that. But we're excited. But yeah, we're swinging for the fences, I guess. But yeah, obviously Fish are really good, but it ain't just him. It's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
There's a
Neely
lot of,
Henry. I
yeah.
I consider Neely a lot like kind of the Alabama River. To me, that's an equalizer for a lot of teams, especially in the April timeframe. Because you're right, it could be spawning situation. I mean, it could be a pre-spawn situation, but it could be post-spawn. I mean, you just never know with the Alabama weather what we're going to have. Weiss is a fun lake. I think the new boating law is going to change the way that sucker fishes just because of the idle only in a certain area of that lake. I think that's going to change it up. And then, how much time have you spent on Pickwick?
Oh, I've spent a pretty good bit of time on Pickwick in the summertime. It's not too far from me, probably two
Okay.
hours. So I put a pretty good bit of time in there, actually.
Okay. Right.
I've never been, but just word on the street is it can fish really small, and I don't know how our boat number looks on the last tournament of the year. So we're trying to get in all the good ones we can because we might be rolling out last. But like I said, I don't know what to expect. We have to find something super sneaky, I guess.
It is it is a fun lake. It does fish a little bit smaller in June than it does like in a February, March time frame, but it's a lot of fun. I love to go over there. I love to go over there. Hunter, you're fishing a lot of stuff this year. Talk a little bit about what else you've got on your schedule other than the Alabama Bass Trail North and South.
Yes, ma'am. I'm fishing the Division 1 of the Bassmaster Open, so I'm fishing them four, and then hopefully I'll make the EQ qualifiers and go to the last three. And I'm fishing the Bama Division BFLs and Sylacauga Marine Team Trail and Airport Marine. I just fish anything I can get in, really.
I'm going to take it you're not married.
No, ma'am. No.
I was gonna say, if you are, she better get a nice present. That's all I can say. That's a lot of fishing.
Yep.
That's a lot of fishing. You getting any time on Lake Tuscaloosa or the Black Warrior or the Warrior River, any of that?
I, I still wonder if the old Lake Tuscaloosa benefits me any because I don't know if you know anything about it, but if we rolled in with 29 pounds like we did at Guntersville here, we'd be bored. I mean, it's like, shoot. I always say it's the only place in the world you can win $20,000. They have a tournament for like $20,000 or $25,000. You can win with 2 day deal of 20 pounds. Like that is crazy. It is
Bob Hale does a good job.
he does.
Yep.
He
Really
is
does.
an awesome, awesome guy. I love Bob. We talk from time to time. I actually was going to be down working with him some at Tuscaloosa, and he's doing a fantastic job. I thought he was going to retire. I was like, what are you doing, dude? I thought you were retiring. Why are you still doing this?
Yeah, I don't think everybody would let him retire. I think
I
everybody
don't
would
think
maybe
that's
keep
exactly what
going.
he said. They won't let
Yeah.
me. They won't let me. So I think Micah got a little taste of tournament directing a couple of times, and I think he much rather fish him than be the tournament director. That's for sure. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about your phones. The last 24 hours, how many phone calls and text messages have you guys got?
Yeah. I mean, it. I've had people in pharmacy school reach out to me that I didn't even know kept up with it. Like, Dave, that's the craziest thing. Like Hunter said, it almost feels like you've done won the classic or something. It is. It's been super cool. You almost feel like the imposter syndrome. It's like I'm not good enough to win that. Like these guys are thinking I'm like some whatever, but I don't know. It's just been a cool experience. It just happened. It's one that nobody can take away from you. You'll always remember for sure.
Hunter, how about you?
Yeah, I ain't got much work done today here at the shop. I've been answering calls all day. Everybody's been calling me. It's a good
Oh,
feeling, though.
I got to know what Mama said when you got home.
Oh, they was waiting up on me. It was about 10 o'clock whenever I got home. They was still awake, sitting in their living room. They were so proud of me.
I'm gonna tell you something. Don't ever be embarrassed about that. My son, I followed him all over God's creation playing baseball, and it was funny. I watched Jacob McNary walk across the stage this weekend, and he said, "I had no idea you were Jake Smallwood's mama." He said, "I remember seeing your truck at all the ball games, but I had no idea you were Jake's mom." And he said, "It's really cool to get to fish in your trail now that I'm not in school anymore." But I followed my son all over the world. I bet I have 3,000 videos of him catching, and I will never get rid of them. They'll always be on my phone, and I will always be proud of his stats when he was in college, his All American. I will always be proud of that. So I love that your mother still follows you and still is excited about it because I'm the same way with mine, and you
Yes,
will
ma'am.
be someday when you have them. Y'all will
Yep.
be the same way. So that's awesome. Well, well, no, Logan Martin is up next for you. Uh,
Yes, ma'am. I'm excited about that. Hopefully, we'll do good. Last year, it was in April, and I figured out a little deal late in the day on the tournament that I think could really help us in a couple of weeks, but maybe it will.
Good, good. Brian, are you headed off to the Bassmaster Classic or are you not going to the Classic this time?
I'm not in class. I've actually never been to one. I always kind of keep up with it, but I don't know. I'm not a real big people person. I definitely respect them and I like keeping up with it all, but I don't really like joining the crowd and all that stuff. That's just me.
It is a peopling time. I told someone the other day, they say women have 10,000 words a day they speak and men have 3,000 words a day they speak. At the Classic, I borrow all of Daniel's words and all of John's words because we see a ton of people. The show, the live, everybody loves it. They want to come up and talk about the live coverage. And having this tournament and then going into the Bassmaster Classic. I remember when we had 38 bags over 20 pounds. It was the Classic was in Greenville, South Carolina. I go check in my room. I go to the little bar downstairs to get a drink, and Kevin Van Dam walks up to me and he goes, "Are you kidding me? 38 bags over 20 pounds?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That place is incredible." Of course, he's got a couple wins there too. So, but Kevin keeps up with us. We saw him at ICAST and he talks about the live coverage. He said, "That's so cool that you're able to do live coverage for those guys." He said, "That's just super cool." So a lot of people tuned in too. We had our best numbers ever on live on Saturday. So that's really cool. Well, y'all can say you've won a historic Alabama Bass Trail event, the most 20-pound bags ever weighed in, the most total weight, 3,300 pounds of bass weighed in, 246 fish over 5 pounds weighed in that tournament.
Dang.
Two. It's insane. Like the guy from the Department of Conservation we emailed him our bait report and it said it and he sent back and he goes, "Is this correct or a typo? Did you say 246 fish over 5 pounds?" I said, "Yes, sir, it's correct." So 3 over 8. So that's pretty cool. Historic time on Lake Guntersville, that's for sure.
Well,
Congratulations. You are forever the 2025 Alabama Bass Trail North Division Lake Guntersville champions. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
thank
Y'all
you.
have a great rest of your day. Thank you for taking time to be with me today.
You
All
too.
right.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Guys, there you go. You heard it all right here. Bryant Fikes and Hunter Davidson taking home $15,000, a win on the Alabama Bass Trail, and punching their ticket to the Alabama Bass Trail Championship on Wheeler Lake in October. We'll be back with a third and final segment here in just a few minutes. Y'all stay tuned.
Research and development is more than just time in the shop for us. It's time out here, sweating the details, making boats that work as well in the real world as they do on paper. From our R&D team to our anglers on the water, we have the knowledge and passion to build you the finest fishing platform in the world.
Welcome back to the third and final segment of the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. Congratulations again, Hunter Davidson and Bryant Fikes, for their tremendous win on the Alabama Bass Trail Lake Guntersville. They are your 2024 champions. They punched their ticket to the championship and leading that AOY. So watch that team for the rest of the year. A couple things we want to talk about before we close this thing out. On Friday, March the 14th, we did announce the 2026 Alabama Bass Trail 100 schedule, and it goes a little something like this. January the 17th, Smith Lake going out of Coleman, Alabama, Coleman Park, Smith Lake Park. We're going to be going out of there. First time to visit this side of the lake. So excited to have it in my new hometown. So excited to be there. June 6th will be on Neely Henry Lake. We've been there a couple of times on June. Thank you to the city of Gadsden for hosting us. And then we will finish things up on November the 7th at Lake Jordan in Wetumpka, Alabama. So excited to be back down there. For everyone interested, priority registration for the teams that fish this year is June 1st through the 10th. Open registration starts June the 11th. It is a $3,000 entry fee that does pay for all three tournaments. We do pay back 100%, and there will be a 3.5% credit card processing fee assessed this year. We just have to, guys. I think I mentioned to you in one of the earlier podcasts, we suffered a $31,000 hit this year by not charging a credit card processing fee to our anglers, and we're just a small business, and we just cannot continue to take those hits. But it is. It's exciting. Glad to return to the Coosa River and thankful to those people who stayed loyal to the Alabama Bass Trail, supported us in our fight to keep the Coosa, strong and So we're glad to be back on the Coosa River for this year's ABT 100s. Also, want to remind everyone Wednesday through Sunday, the ABT office will be closed. We'll have our cell phones with us, but we will be at the Bassmaster Classic setting up and exhibiting Thursday. We fly out Wednesday. We'll set up on Thursday. We'll exhibit Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll be back in the office on sometime Monday. Getting ready for Logan Martin, but we will be out of the office. If you are going to the Bassmaster Classic, stop by booth 2404. That is the Alabama Bass Trail booth. We are just down from Phoenix, so good to see our great friends there at Phoenix. But stop by and say hello to us. We'd love to see you there. We are about 12 days away from Logan Martin Lake. That's stop number 2 of the Alabama Bass Trail South Division. Can't wait to get there. Lincoln Landing, one of the premier destinations for bass fishing tournaments, and it will be a premier destination for a lot of bass being weighed in too. We always have a lot of limits, somewhere between 210 220 limits weighed in at Logan Martin almost every year. So looking forward to being down there and getting stop number 2 of the South Division kicked off. Before I do all of the normal things I do to close this thing out, I do want to pay special attention to 2 of our anglers. I won't say former anglers. Once you're an Alabama Bass Trail angler, you're an Alabama Bass Trail angler. Miss Pam Martin Wells in the fight for her life, and just Pam's a really special person. And Stephen, they fished with us for a long time, always brought Coosa on the Alabama Bass Trail, their dog. And Pam is in the fight for her life, and I know she would appreciate any of your thoughts and your prayers and your well wishes. And anytime you get a chance, just lift her up. I know she would appreciate that. Also, Mr. Terry Tucker, a legend in the bass fishing game, especially in the state of Alabama. Most of you know, Terry was diagnosed with cancer at the middle of last year, I think about in April. And he's gone through a lot of treatments, gone through some experimental stuff. And he is seeing a small sign of no growth in his cancer, but I've lost a considerable amount of usage in his right side and in his left side of his body. And talked to him last week, and he was in decent spirits for what he's going through. I would say good spirits for what he's going through, but I know that he would appreciate and covet your prayers and your well wishes. So if you get an extra minute, send Mr. Terry Tucker up a prayer. I know he would appreciate it. I do want to thank you for listening to the podcast. You take time out of your week each and every week to listen to what we have to say, what our anglers have to say, and I certainly appreciate that. I do hope you will subscribe, rate, and review our show on your favorite podcast app. Also, send in those suggestions, those comments, those questions, the things you would like posed to our anglers. We'll be happy to do that. We do our best to make this podcast better and better every week. As we work on our Alabama Bass Trail Live on the Water coverage, we had a tremendous response this week, as we knew we would. BPT's not fishing, Bassmasters is not fishing, MPFL's not fishing. We felt like we would have a good audience, and we did. I highly encourage you to tune in and share those podcasts and share those lives. They are fun to watch. When you're out there watching guys who work Monday through Friday, who are out there fighting for $15,000 and some for over $25,000 with their boat contingencies and Garmin contingencies and AmFirst contingencies, it's really cool to watch guys who might swing a hammer through the week, or they might be a plumber through the week, or they may be a guide and they're guiding all week on a different lake, and yet they come and fish the Alabama Bass Trail on Saturday. So it's really cool to watch that and be able to see that live action. It's a lot of fun this week. But until next week, I want to remind you to hug your family, hug your mom and them, love on those fur babies or any other pets. I have a fur baby, Wrigley. You may have those miniature cows or goats or whatever, but love on your pets. You are their number one thing in their life. I can assure you of that. Take some time and watch some great college baseball, some great college basketball. March Madness is about to start. And enjoy the coverage of the Bassmaster Classic. I know Angela's going to be posting updates and stories from the Bassmaster Classic from the Fish Alabama perspective and from the Alabama Bass Trail's perspective. So she'll be busy doing that while John, Daniel, and I are greeting you and meeting with sponsors and everything else. So it's going to be a great week out in Fort Worth. And don't forget, Saturday night, Low Budget Live will be taking place at Birdie's Music Hall or Birdies, something. The Fat Rascals, Luke Duncan, Shannon Wheeler on the fiddle, John Simpson, your tournament director, John Simpson, on the drums. So going to be a fine time, going to be a large time. I know that Josh Butts is ready for it. He's already called out the bush lights, so he'll be ready for it. It's going to be a fun time down in Fort Worth. So y'all tune in and watch them, watch all the fishing action, watch all the updates from Angela and the Alabama Bass Trail team as we travel out there to support the state of Alabama. You guys have a great, great week. God bless and peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast. To learn more about the Alabama Bass Trail, make sure and visit alabamabasstrail.org.